Blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning on KIDO Talk Radio. Joined by our great friend Lars Larson, Lars Larson Show, syndicated personality, great talk show host, awesome American, and protector of the Second Amendment. Lars, good morning.
Good morning, Kevin. I heard that ad, and I'm more of a whiskey guy than a vodka guy, but I might be tempted to have a martini if I knew it was made by veterans. I think that's a pretty good deal.
American Revolution Vodka right here in Boise, Idaho, in the Treasure Valley. So, Lars, when we're talking about what a week it was last week, I don't know if there'll ever be a week to top it.
Kevin, this week is going to top last week because now that this is out, now that McCabe has been fired, you watch. He has said, I will not go down unless I take everybody with me. So now the long knives come out. Comey's book is about to come out, and I have a feeling Comey's book, compared to the Inspector General's report on the same subject, are likely not to match up very well. So watch as everybody scrambles to figure out how they can paint themselves as innocent. I think this week may top last week.
And, Lars, not to get too much inside baseball, but I believe Comey testified that he authorized no one to speak about the Hillary Clinton emails in direct contradiction to Andrew McCabe's statements.
He testified under oath that he had not, and that he had not authorized it. Now, Kevin, I'll tell you, let me give you the narrowest of possible exceptions for Comey. You walk into your boss's office, say, boss, I'm going to go down and do a live remote from some place. And your boss doesn't say yes. He doesn't say no. He hears what you said. And he doesn't say, could he legitimately say, I never authorized Kevin to do that remote? Well, you could say, boss, you heard me say we're going to do the remote. You didn't say yes. You didn't say no. You didn't object. And you didn't ask me, well, why are you doing this? So you go and do it. And you have some trouble over it. You say, well, the boss authorized it. And he says, well, I never actually said you could do it. I never asked you to do it. I never told you you could do it. But, yes, I heard you tell me. See, this is that's the narrowest of possible exceptions where McCabe could say, my boss knew that I was talking to reporters over a several-day period, and he didn't say anything. So in that case, if he had said, boss, I'm going to tell the Wall Street Journal, I'm going to leak some stuff to the Wall Street Journal, and James Comey says nothing, I would call that authorizing it. Now, the only thing Comey could say is, I never actually said out loud in words that he could do it. Now, but I think that's not going to get him very far. We have a very scary situation right now, and I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say when you can take the FBI and use it as a political weapon, and you have the two top guys at the agency who are involved in this. This isn't, the average FBI special agent who's out leaking something to a friend to help some situation out. These are the two top guys in the agency. Now, I think that an awful lot of the people in the FBI are good, solid Americans who would never do something like this. They know that it's out of line. And do you know who else knows it's out of line? The Office of Personal Responsibility, OPR, that oversees what goes on in that agency. They started an investigation before Donald Trump ever became president during the Obama administration, and they recommended that Andrew McCabe be fired. So when you hear all these Democrats caterwauling about, it's not fair to fire him short of, he should have been able to retire at age 49 to a fat pension. I don't think so. When you engage in that kind of misconduct, I think losing your pension for a little over a decade, he'll still get his pension. He'll just get it, in his late 60s instead of in his late 40s. And if you think about that commentary, the fact that the average federal employee, not just top agency heads, have a fatter paycheck by double than the average American worker, and they have a fat pension on top of that, and that you can retire at 49? Kevin, where in the private sector do you know of friends who tell you they can retire at 49 years of age?
Well, I can't. Our great friend Lars Larson joining us. Kevin Miller in the morning here at KIDO Talk Radio. Don't forget to catch Lars weeknights at 6 right here at KIDO Talk Radio. So, Lars, there's so much to talk about. If we could review your thoughts on Tillerson going, and then we'll talk about the week ahead, sir.
I think Tillerson needed to go. I think Tillerson did not agree with the boss. And let's say KIDO said, we want a certain kind of talk radio, so we've chosen Kevin Miller. They decide to hire a new talk show host to do a different day part, as they've hired me to do, 6 to 9 at night. And the boss says, I need a talk show host who is X, Y, and Z. And it turns out that when he arrives, he says all the right things to get hired, but then he doesn't listen to anything the boss tells him about the kind of talk show that KIDO needs. Well, if you don't agree with your boss's method of doing things, if you're the Secretary of State, whose job it is not to be an independent actor, a congressman or a senator can be an independent actor. Idaho can send senators back to Washington and say, we don't want you to be like everyone else. But when a president hires a Secretary of State, it's to represent the president's foreign policy. If the man or woman in that job is not on the same page as the president, they need to go. And that's why Tillerson needed to go. Tillerson was apparently trying to do end runs around the president's policy on the Iran deal. He's trying to do end runs around him on the president's policy on North Korea. That can't happen. It cannot happen. And I think everyone who's ever been in a job where they watch somebody be hired who decided, oh, yeah, that's what the boss says, but I'm going to do something different, that person should not be long for their job.
Lars Larson joining us here, KIDO Talk Radio. Catch him tonight at 6. So, Lars, the attacks on the president, first it was the Russians, then it was the wall, then it was the Muslim ban, now it's Stormy Daniels. You've met with the president, you've interviewed him, you've covered him for years. You're a veteran of talk radio, of the news media. What do you make of the latest of Trump versus the media round 75?
I think Trump is winning. And I don't just say that because I support the president. I say that because he's winning. The mainstream media said he's connected to Russia. Mueller's been working at it for more than a year now. I say let him keep on tilting at windmills. He hasn't found anything. You want Russian collusion? Two kinds. Number one, Hillary Clinton went to the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party was deeply in debt, and she said, I'll pay off the debts from my campaign funds and get you back above water, but you have to give me control of the party. They did. Then she, her campaign, and the DNC hired Perkins Coie out of Seattle and said, we want you to hire this former secret agent, Christopher Steele, and we want him to put together a dossier. Apparently they didn't care if it was fictional or not. It turns out to be fictional. And then the FBI used that to obtain warrants. That is one and by the way, where did Christopher Steele get his information? Don't believe me. Look it up. Christopher Steele got his information from agents of the Russian government, from Russian government officials. Now, he claims they told him things. It doesn't appear to be true, but the stuff he made up in the report, read the Steele dossier. It's available online. You'll see it came from the Russian government. So that's one element of Russian collusion, but not by Donald Trump, but by Hillary Clinton. Second Russian collusion, Cambridge Analytics. So Facebook is a big entity. I do business with them. You do business with them. You know, a billion people on planet Earth have a Facebook account. They harvest data from those accounts and they sell it. Now, that's the first scandal. If you're worried about where your data is going, Facebook sells your data. Who did they sell it to? They sold it to a Russian psychologist who then turned around and sold it to Cambridge Analytics, who allegedly used it. Now, the campaign is saying otherwise, but they allegedly used it to benefit the Trump campaign by being able to do analysis of, they would have looked at Boise and said, here are the places where you're strong, Mr. President. Here are the places where people care more about this issue or that issue. That's what they allegedly did with the data. It's the same kind of aggregate data that you and I give up if you get one of those grocery store loyalty cards,
sure,
or you have Twitter account or Facebook account, or you fill out any kind of survey. You give up that data. Now, probably somewhere in the fine print, certainly in the fine print, is a little caveat that says, by the way, we're going to sell your data. Now, they may phrase it in a way that you don't recognize, but they sell your data. Everybody sells you. If I drive Fords and I like Fords. If I fill out a Ford questionnaire, I know they're going to use that data. But this data was sold to a Russian psychologist who then sold it on to Cambridge Analytics. Now, I know Facebook is going to say, well, when we sold it to him, he promised, he made us a promise, cross his heart and hope to die, that he wouldn't send it on to anyone else. Do you know what makes that Facebook data worth a lot of money to Facebook? The fact that it gets used in the way that it was used. Now, I have a feeling that Facebook had a wink, wink, nod, nod kind of arrangement where they said, oh, we're selling this data to this psychologist and he's going to use it for academic research, and that's why he's willing to pay so much money for 50 million people, Americans' data. Right, yeah, I believe that not, because Facebook knows that the way this data is useful is if it is used in some kind of enterprise that is worth a lot of money. there are few enterprises in America that are worth more than a presidential election. Billions of dollars get spent every 4 years to decide who's going to become the next president. So if you're selling it to a psychologist to do an academic study, how much can he really afford to pay you? On the other hand, if he can sell it on to somebody else, and I'm sure he violated the terms of his agreement with Facebook, but I have a feeling Facebook is not unaware that his data does not always get used the way that they promise it'll be used. The real beef should be with Facebook. So there's a second element of Russian collusion, and that is a Russian who colluded with Facebook. Well, we don't know what Mark Zuckerberg did and signed this off. But you want Russian collusion? That's where you can find it. So far, Robert Mueller has found none. So, this week as the long knives come out and these folks on McCabe and Comey start to actually, there are going to be people who are going to have to make decisions. If McCabe is going down, he plans to take everybody else he can with him. And I have a feeling there's plenty to go around. If you think about the details of McCabe and what he did, he clearly sided with the Democrats. He used the agency that he was the number 2 man at as a political weapon. And why would he have done that? Do you know what his wife tried to do? She tried to run for office. And who did she get a giant pile, hundreds of thousands of dollars from? Terry McAuliffe, who's a major actor in the Democrat Party. Now, do you think they gave her all that money because she had a nice smile or she was very smart? They gave her that money because her husband worked as the number 2 guy at the FBI, and the top folks at the FBI were conspiring to make sure they determine the outcome of an election. Kevin, to me, this sounds just like the old Soviet Union used to sound, where if you were in power in the Soviet Union, you used the apparatus of government to make sure that you stayed in power. That sounds like a dictatorship, where in America, if we ever get to that point, kiss democracy and representative government goodbye. Because if the people in power can use that power to stay in power, the voters are cut further out of the decision about who leads this country.
Our great friend Lars Larson. Lars, we'll get you out on this one. Are you, as someone who has covered these big events, have been to the White House, to overseas, to everything, are you surprised that here you have the former director of the former director of the FBI, James Comey, acting like a kid, tweeting things and acting very, very adolescent? You've been around these power players. It just seems beneath them. Then you have Brennan going, Trump, we're going to get you, and all these things. And these are people that have been at the highest levels of power, the highest levels of government, acting like teenagers on Twitter.
I think it's amazing, but I also think there may be a whiff of desperation about James Comey, and let me tell you why. His big new book is coming out, and it costs $30 a pop, and it is probably a work of fiction. And do you know how we're going to know that? The Inspector General's report on McCabe and Comey is coming out soon, and the first thing that reporters in D.C. will be doing is comparing how the Inspector General's report says it went down and how James Comey says it went down. I have a feeling they will not resemble, those two stories will not resemble each other. So think about the situation Comey's in. He stands to make millions of dollars from that book, but only if it does well. If it looks like a work of fiction, it's not going to do well. Secondly, for instance, James Comey is coming to a theater about 4 blocks from where I'm sitting right now, not long from now, to do an evening, a presentation about his new book. It'll sell, he hopes, a lot of books, and the ticket is $100 a head. Well, the theater seats 3,000 people. Now multiply that by 70 or 80 American cities at $300,000 an appearance minus expenses. This guy stands to make a lot of money. On the other hand, if it turns out that he looks like one major liar, and he just joins all the other liars in American political history, Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, etc., then maybe he doesn't do so well at all. So his best defense, I think, at this point is to put up all this bluster on Twitter as though, he knows better than the president and his story is valid. Because when you're about to get caught in a major lie in front of the entire country, bluster is probably about all you can get away with.
Lars Larson, he always brings it. Can't wait to hear what he has to say tonight. Thank you, Lars.
It's my pleasure, Kevin. Take care.
Our great friend Lars Larson, we appreciate him. Let's get to Dan in Middleton, who's been very patient. Dan, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio. Thanks for your patience.
How you doing, Kevin? Look, hey, I was real proud to hear you used me on the promo. But
Look,
look
when you make the Ray Amaya promo, you've gone big time.
yeah, and I feel it. So look, you asked what I would like to hear from these candidates like Tommy Alquist and Brad Little and Raul.
Right.
I'd like to hear them tell me how they're going to get the state out of competing with local businesses, how they're going to give us the grocery tax break that, we've been looking for, and how they're going to enable the term limits that we passed about 15 years ago to go in.
Those are some good questions.
I have a laundry list, but that's a good way to get started.
Well, we can do it one of two ways. We can, have a forum with these guys. I know a lot of people are pitching that, and it's getting kind of exhausting. And we can have them on, and we'll promote it, and you can call in and ask them yourself, Dan.
Well, if I can call in and ask him, I will.
All right. Well, thank you.
All right. You have a good day.
You too. Thank you. Congratulations on making the promo. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Thank you, Cousin Dennis. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Kind of an old-fashioned soiree. You still want to talk about what happened in Preston, Idaho, with the turtle being euthanized because they're not native to the gem state. I don't know why we have so many snapping turtles, but we're killing them. But the teacher, he's still under investigation. That's one topic at 580-5436. But kind of like this old-fashioned, political show where we're talking about the gubernatorial candidates. Barb in Sunny Slope, good morning. You're on with Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Hello, Barb.
Hi there. It's kind of a little bit off the turtle thing, but the news stories that you're putting on every half hour or every hour talk about this cat that was shot. Let me ask you, you have dogs. Do you let them run all over the neighborhood?
No, and I apologize to my neighbors now and all the time because once I hear one bark and I'm out there chasing them. In fact, the lady next door, I think I'm free entertainment for her because I'm out there and, my whatevers and chasing my little dachshund Carolina going, stop it, as if she knows what that means. But yeah.
Well, I get the impression from this, and I do see this about, I don't support shooting the cat. Please, let me get that right up front, okay? But I also sit there and say the way this news article is phrased, it sounds like this woman allowed the cat to wander the neighborhood. And most cat owners tend to do that. They feed the cat and they let it out and it wanders the neighborhood. And it jumps into your yard and my yard and it does its thing on my garden and kills my plants, so to speak.
I'll tell you, I had
had
a showdown with a cat and tried to get into my garage, and I had to chase the cat out. And I don't know. I'm an indoor pet person. You value your pet, you keep them indoors.
I don't have sympathy for this unless she is keeping this cat at home. And I think cat owners should keep their cats at home and not let them wander the neighborhood. But that's just my cat thing. But I'm also calling about Alquist that is running. I am very concerned about him.
Concerned in a good way or concerned in a bad way?
Concerned in a bad way. Apparently, he didn't even register to vote Republican before 2016. He gives money to the maximum amount permissible to the Democrat Balukov, who was running against the governor. He doesn't say he's pro-life. He doesn't say he's pro-Second Amendment. He did support Marco Rubio, who's pro-amnesty. He supported Thompson, who cited Obama as having such a profound impact on his life. And at one point, he supported Brad Little, which is just Little Butch. And he didn't support Trump over Hillary.
Did you just call Brad Little Butch?
Yeah, well, that's my thought.
Wow.
And, he didn't support he did support Lauren McLean, who is a pro-abortion person.
It sounds like you've done everything that imaginable here. I don't know what you're concerned about since you've just aired what your thoughts.
Yeah, I'm concerned he may actually get in. I'm not in favor of Ahlquist.
Really? I didn't get that.
I know that was hard to infer from my comments.
Thank you, Barb. I've got to run.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Traffic and weather together. And let's find out what's happening in your world. Good morning, Maggie.
Good morning.
8:34, coming up, more of your phone calls on the governor's race. Remember, you can go to KIDOTalkRadio.com and vote now. Who will it be? Steve Pankey or others in the governor's race, and who's running for Congress. We have those polls up as well. And by the way, it's kind of our tribute to the NCAA tournament that has left town. But congratulations to our Mountain West brother or sister, Nevada.
Cincinnati, the highest remaining seed remaining, but they're in trouble now. Bearcats inbound with 9.1 to go. It's inbounded to Brune into the front court. 6 seconds left. Driving, lost the dribble, got it back. Down the floor to three, turns on the baseline. Shot rejected. Ball loose on the floor. Ball game over. Nevada's going to the Sweet 16.
Wow, Nevada. Eric Musselman doing a good job. All right, this is how we'll do this here. We'll take your phone calls at 580-5436. 580-KIDO, and when Jeff Manasso calls, we'll either cut the call short or we'll put you on hold. It always works this way. As like I said, as soon as I go to the phones, there's Jeff Manasso calling in. So we'll talk Fox Wheels, and then we'll hear from you. And we're looking forward to that. By the way, this week we'll be at Keller Supply for all your kitchen and bathroom and I was going to say gardening needs, but no, for all your kitchen and bathroom needs, faucets, shower heads, Keller Supply right there on Cloverdale. Looking forward to being out and about and rolling as we do. So as we're waiting for Jeff Manasso, you know how this works, Ray and I. As soon as I go to Lori here, they'll go, hey, here's Jeff Manasso. Yes, that's how it works. So let's go to Lori. Lori, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio. Hello, Lori.
Hello, and I don't mind being upstaged by Jeff. So I'm calling about I'm calling about Dr. Ahlquist. I think people need to just go look at his website. And the fellow that called him before said he didn't know what substance there was. There's a lot of substance. And as far as concerns about who he donated to, I voted for Trump, and he donated to a lot of Democrats. That doesn't bother me because he is for liberty. And he's doing everything to cut taxes, regulation, and that's what Tommy Ahlquist will do. He's cutting regulation. He's looking into you've heard him you talked to him here on the radio, and he said, I'm looking into every budget. Our team is looking into every line item in these budgets, and we see a lot of duplication and so on. And he's a businessman. And liberty is about your property because you put your life into your work. And
now,
so,
Lori, you can either hang on or we can go to Jeff Manasso. What would you like to do?
No, I'm through.
All right.
Thank you.
Would you like to introduce Lori? You there?
Yes.
You want to? Could you introduce Jeff for us, please?
Oh, okay. Hello, Jeff. Welcome to Boise. And Kevin Miller. He's an awesome host, and I enjoy listening to you too. So there you go.
All right. Thank you, Lori.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. How about that, Jeff Manasso?
That was pretty great. Thanks, Lori. Thanks, Kevin. Good to be with you. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. We're doing our very best to, catch and pitch and all those sorts of things. So, what's going on in the world of the automobiles?
A couple of different stories we were working on, particularly important to you if you have a Jeep, the Jeep Grand Cherokee, an older one. Georgia Supreme Court upholding a $40 million award for a family of a 4-year-old boy. He was killed when his 1999 Jeep Grand Cherokee that he was in was rear-ended and burst into flames. Now, the Jeep's fuel tank was placed near the back of the vehicle, which federal safety officials say have linked to more than 50 deaths. Not like the Pinto back in the day, but dangerous, according to federal officials. So if you've got a late 90s Jeep Grand Cherokee, you may want to look into that. After teasing the 2020 Bronco last week, Ford is now offering a better look at its brand new, 2019 Jeep Mustang Shelby GT500. So this thing's going to be in the showroom, on the showroom floor before the Bronco. And Kevin, this thing looks cool. It's the black and white image that reveals a trellis-supported rear wing, quad exhaust pipes, digital instrument cluster that shows the number 7 in its gear selection display, and speedometer indicating 770 horsepower. So this thing's going to go fast. And it's got a sleek, gaping mouth grille, plenty of air to breathe for its almost 800 horsepower V8, and making it the most powerful Ford ever. Not nearly as pricey as Ford's GT supercar at $450,000. This will be back more into your average person's budget, hopefully anyway. We don't have pricing on that thing yet, but it's going to be sweet.
Well, and I wonder, and again, the Mustang, one of the great things about it, it's a sports car, but Ford in the past has always made it affordable in comparison to, let's say, a Camaro or a Charger. The Mustang, at least in my personal opinion, Jeff, it's always been more affordable than some of these other cars.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, you can buy a relatively new or even a brand new Ford Mustang GT Premium, and you're looking at about the $30,000 range, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, depending, perhaps even a convertible. But, nowadays, the thing is, it's a really good time to buy any type of car, whether it's a sports car or a sedan, because the industry as a whole is really shifting more towards SUVs, crossovers, because that's their bread and butter these days. People are moving away from the cars, and so you're going to find good deals on sports cars these days, and right before summertime might be a good bet.
Well, it's like Ford's building a little community, with their own little, vocabulary and stuff. The GT, this, that, and the other. It really is about building a community, and sometimes those inside things roll, Jeff.
Well, I think so. Could be. And people have their certain likes, and they want to be a part of something. Ford Mustang is certainly one of the vehicles that kind of brings back the image back in the day. Ford Mustang, Route 66, convertible, things like that. Other people like other things, and I think one cool thing about what Ford has done with their aluminum bodies in their Ford F-150s is that's really set a trend, and you've got more powerful motors, and so these things are more powerful, more more economical in terms of fuel efficiency. Jeep is now rumored to be doing aluminum bodies, and that Ford Bronco that I teased up at the top is also rumored to possibly be going all aluminum as well. Don't have much information on the Bronco, but it's supposed to be pretty boxy looking and kind of a throwback to the late 1970s slash. I don't know if you're familiar with the Raptor pickup truck that they've got, but kind of an in between, but pretty powerful, kind of boxy looking. But I can't wait to see that.
Jeff Manasso, let's hope that we can continue to save the sedans. Maybe that'll be our next cause. So many pickups.
Yeah, we'll do. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you, Jeff. Coming up, more of your phone calls. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. And let's continue on. Tea Party Bob, Gem State Patriot, joins us now. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Miller. How are you today?
Just living the dream, and you?
Well, I didn't know that the trespassing law the legislator was working on could have such dire effects on a perfectly innocent reptile for trespassing in Idaho.
I don't really get the idea of the turtle had to go. Oh, it's not native. You could, and Vern emailed me and said, "Well, why not give it to the zoo?"
Well, sure, why not? I mean, can you imagine? Maybe they have the same thing for people. You trespass, you get executed.
Many people believe. Well, many people believe that's where we're going in our society today with these states that outlaw suicide. You know, that you're going to have
a little bit crazy.
Well, you're going to have the health insurance company determining whether or not you live or die. Well, they already do that now.
Well, we can stop them at the county line. Maybe we'll just stop them from coming into the state. Just a couple of comments. You had enough listeners wanting to promote Tommy Ahlquist this morning, I had to look at my calendar to see whether it was Tommy Ahlquist Day.
Well, I don't know about that. I think you had some people that had some questions and I thought they were highly critical, but I mean, to each his own with the ear, you know.
Well, look, I just like to go somewhere where I don't see a Tommy sign in front of my face.
Well,
I'm not sure.
Now, look, not to promote a rival organization, but our friends at the Idaho Politics Weekly say it's anybody's ball game now with their poll. Now, I know you're partial to your polls, but
well, look, I'm sure everybody noticed the new commercial. Tommy has gone on the attack on TV and basically gone negative, hitting both Labrador and Little at the same time. You know, this usually indicates they may be a bit worried about how the campaign is going, because you don't usually see that type of a commercial at this time of the campaign if they're doing well. But I kind of wonder, you know, for all the hype and all the signs and all the money he's spent, this campaign may not turn out to be as profitable a venture as his urban renewal projects using our tax dollars.
Well, let me hit you with this one. So you've got this new poll out. It has 15% for Tommy Ahlquist, 16% for Raul Labrador, 11% for Brad Little, and here's a shocker on the Democratic side, 8% for A.J. Belukoff, 15% for Paula Jordan, and then you have Troy Minton, and then you have Steve Pankey, and then you have Lisa Marie and Heidi, and I guess that's it. 29% saying they're not going to know who they're going to vote for, but to me, really, it comes down to who motivates the base. That's unless you're going to have a bunch of Democrats become Republicans, which I've heard that's the rumor, and come in and play shenanigans.
Well, they could do that. I tend to doubt it with Belukoff running, but 29% of the vote is a huge amount of people undecided. But you have to remember, too, that during these off-presidential elections like this, you don't get a lot of people that come out and vote. In fact, it's probably like 7 in 100 that actually get out to vote. You don't have a lot. So you're going to have a very few people electing the new primaries and the new primaries. And, you know, this is going to be a very big year in Idaho. In fact, it's probably the largest number of challenges in history in the primaries. So it could mean a huge change.
Well, here's the
Idaho legislature.
All right, here's the skinny on this. You take a look at who backed the repeal of the grocery tax and who didn't. If that isn't enough to sway a vote one way or the other, if you, as you brought up the trespass bill, if you're in favor of, if I step on my neighbor's property accidentally, that I could be charged, well, then you know who to vote for if you're in favor of that. That's really what it comes down to, I think. And this one is the reddest of the red meat, the base of the base. And that's why I think these polls are wrong. People that are going to vote in this primary, they listen to talk radio, they're active in politics, and that's it. You're not going to get mainstream Sally. You're going to get the people that can tell you who the Secretary of State was, who it will be, and who the Vice President is. How many people on the streets can do that?
Very, very few. I know that for a fact because I've asked some of them.
What have you done, Tea Party Bob on the street?
Well, I will say one thing. Last night they had this big meeting at the Ambrose School for the new conservatives they were introducing.
Right, yeah.
And they actually gave out, Heather Scott and Priscilla Giddings gave out the fake news awards. They gave out one to Melissa Davlin and one to the Statesman. So rah-rah for them.
Well,
these are the same guys that wouldn't let me in a press club.
You don't hold a grudge, do you?
Not me at all. No, not at all.
Well,
I love the show, man. You guys are doing a great job here this morning.
Well, that's Ray Amaya setting the tone. Thank you, sir.
You have a great day.
You too. We'll see you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Our great friend Tea Party Bob in a really good mood today. And, the primary is going to continue to heat up. We'd love to take your calls at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. That must frustrate some of the candidates when they hear what you have to say and, hey, what about this, what about that, because they've been on the trail forever. Who was the last person to get in? It was Congressman Labrador, and he got in May. So these guys have been at it nonstop, so there could be some fatigue. We'll take your calls on that. But here's something that is not getting a lot of a national attention, but it should.
The people who call this part of Austin home are still locked inside of their homes at the request of police because they have been waiting for the first real light of day. This explosion happened when it was dark. It's sometimes difficult to process the scene and get the scale for how large it is. You not only have local authorities here, but also federal agents with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, and the FBI. Initially, it was thought last night there were 2 blasts, but then it was determined it was one single explosion that injured 2 people walking down the street.
So obviously something bad is happening in Austin, Texas. Now, many people have been to Austin, Texas. I hear it rivals the Treasure Valley as one of the best places to live. You've got a vibrant, dynamic music scene, but you got terrorists running wild in Austin, Texas, where they're dropping off backpacks and blowing things up, tripwires. This is the United States of America, and we're talking tripwires as if it's something you get at the drugstore. To me, and I'd love to know how you feel, at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, to me, I got to tell you that this should be the top story on the national news. Not about stormy weather, Stormy Daniels, or stormy skies. Not about Andrew McCabe, who's still going to make a lot of money. And as we learned, will still get his pension at 60, not at 50. Oh, my goodness gracious. He's going to get a pension. He has to wait till he's 60 to get his big money FBI pension. But the press doesn't tell you that, right? And here we have this troubling situation in Austin, Texas. In Austin, Texas, where you have backpacks full of bombs blowing people up. Another explosion injures 2, cause unclear. They're saying stay inside. And we don't know what's going on. And, where's the press on that one, right? Like a couple other issues. Coming up next, is it time for the governor to sign the Stand Your Ground law? But first, traffic and weather. And here we have it. This is an ad that is percolating throughout social media, paid for by Everytown for gun safety. And they're urging Governor Otter, stand your ground is too extreme for Idaho. Tell Governor Otter to veto. Well, thankfully, I don't know what the governor will do, but this is a law that people have fought for, from our friends Greg Pruitt and the Idaho Second Amendment Alliance to others, that it has percolated its way to, according to this ad, the governor's desk, right? So stand your ground is too extreme for Idaho. And we've had people say that really, if someone breaks into your home, you should have to prove it. And I know you listen to Sean. Sean does an incredible job right with Lars Larson. And Sean does this ad for this lawyer group. The lawyer group where they will, you pay a fee, and then if you have to use lethal force, if you have to use your firearm to protect yourself, that they will automatically protect you. I would like to believe, and I've been called a lot of things, naive is one of them, that in America today, that if someone breaks into your home, and says, give me your money, I'm going to take your life, then you have the right to defend yourself. Well, you do, Kevin. Yeah, on the other hand, then you have the power, the incredible, massive power of the state that will determine whether or not you could have run, that could have determined whether or not you could have thrown a can of insect repellent at somebody. No one knows what's going to happen in that situation, right? And don't we have enough restrictions on our own individual liberty? In America today, there are 2 things that we believe should be right, should be just. You should have the ability to protect yourself and your family, and if you so choose, to use lethal force to do so without fear that the state will ruin your life by driving you into bankruptcy with trumped-up charges. And something else that somebody talked to me the other day, the idea that if you're retired, that you should not lose your home because you can't afford property taxes. The property taxes continue to go up. The value of lands continue to go up. And that's something that I believe the next governor, the next legislature should take a look at. How many of our beloved senior citizens that have worked hard and continue to work hard are worried about losing their ancestral home because of excessive property taxes? Oh, it's great to talk about this person did that person, and one's a Boise politician, one's an Idaho politician, one's a Washington politician. But real life, real issues. Here you have someone that's, let's say, paid off their home or owes very little on it, and they're worried because they could get priced out of their neighborhood. And they're on a fixed income. Isn't that a cause for concern? To me, that's a home run and something that could be solved. Well, think of all the money we're losing. Look, didn't we just give the biggest tax cut ever? Not the repeal of the grocery tax, but the largest tax cut ever in the state's history? And we can't look out for our senior citizens. We can't look out for our best and brightest and bravest and that have given so much? Where's the reform there in the state Senate or the state House? And like I said, these are issues that you've brought to the forum here at KIDO Talk Radio. I would like to think that the next legislature, the next governor, address those issues. We'll keep it rolling here. Kevin Miller in the morning. Glenn Beck is next. Ramaya, awesome job as always. Good day, God bless, and keep the faith.